Hello, white people. Well, the new hysteria is Ukraine and Putin. Putin is Hitler, and Putin is trying to recreate the Soviet Union and whatever. I don't understand how Putin's trying to recreate the Soviet Union that takes money and Russia is poor. I don't even know how they created the Soviet Union in the first place. Who funded them? Somebody funded the creation of the Soviet Union, and everything is about money with these people. They worship money. And, I thought it was interesting, too, that why is it that older people are money hungry and power hungry when in real life, I've never met a money hungry and power hungry older person. It's just these characters that are on TV that are money hungry and power hungry. So how is it that the mainstream media, the government, the media industrial complex, how is it that they're constantly getting away with creating trauma, and they get people to fold, they get people to bow to them and give them whatever they want? It's just the weirdest thing. If you're standing on the outside looking at it, it is the weirdest thing to observe. So I came across a concept called narcissistic trauma bonding, and I said, ooh, well, maybe this will explain what it is that I am witnessing, what we are witnessing, because, the last thing we have, we've got the Ukraine hysteria going on, and I bet you out there's people saying that if Putin wins, then Americans are going to start speaking Russian. How hilarious is that? And then, before that, then we had the invisible enemy, the stupid 19. And if you didn't comply, it's like you're in a pot of crabs, and then the crabs on the bottom who are, getting their poison shots and wearing their slave diapers, they'll grab you by the ankles and yank you back in and just torture you. If you don't comply with the hysteria, if it's just the weirdest thing. We live in weird times, but hysteria has been around. The trauma bond has been around for a long time. The abuse by the government and the mainstream media has been around for a long time. And now that we are connected to the matrix 24/7, like the internet, the TV set, the doctors, the government, it's constant. We're just constantly connected to them. So let's see if we can break this down and understand it. I found this article. Hold on here and let me get it for you. It's called UnmaskingTheNarc.com, 7 Stages of Narcissist Trauma Bonding Explained. Now, this is a pretty long article, so I will try not to get too boring. Just hit on the highlights here, and I can put a link in the description if you're interested in reading the entire thing. Toxic and abusive relationships are incredibly convoluted situations, with narcissist trauma bonding being a crucial element in keeping people imprisoned. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, your brain doesn't even compute that the person who's supposed to love you is in fact abusing you. Narcissists are highly skilled manipulators and are very methodical in the way they work to hook in their victims. However, once we're able to be honest with ourselves, we can admit that things aren't right and that we often hide or justify the narcissist's cruel and hurtful behaviors. Because if we did admit those things to ourselves, they would completely decimate our fantasy image of who we needed that person to be for us and everything that goes with that life. Never again will I look in from the outside of another toxic relationship and think, why do they stay with someone who treats them so terribly? Let's explore the complexities of narcissist trauma bonding. Below are the 7 stages of narcissist trauma bonding. Love bombing, trust and dependency, criticism, gaslighting, resignation, loss of self and addiction. What is a narcissist trauma bond? It's where an abuse victim feels emotionally connected and even loyal to their abuser, like Stockholm Syndrome. The bond itself is formed through a repeated cycle of abuse where the abuser has become the victim's complete source of validation and security. The bond is created and strengthened through intermittent punishments, which are then backed up with rewards. Okay, so what kind of punishments have we had in the last few years? Well, we're called white supremacists, bigots, racists, because we don't like it that a bunch of foreigners are getting shipped into our homeland, and it's basically changing the demographics so much that when we vote, even though elections are manipulated, we don't have a say in how our country is being ran. That's ridiculous. And white people are not allowed to have homogenous societies anymore. Even in traditional, well, I mean, yeah, in former Commonwealth countries. Well, I guess the United States is the only former Commonwealth. In Commonwealth countries, you're not allowed to be white anymore. And you have to pay money, you have to pay reparations in the form of affirmative action to these people. Everybody's an affirmative action recipient except for white people. That's ridiculous. This psychologically reinforces that the abuser is the one who can provide relief from the person's feelings of pain, despair, and anxiety, even though they are at the very cause of the pain in the first place. A pattern of cruel and cold-hearted treatment mixed with random acts of kindness. That's what intermittent reinforcement is. The abuser delivers the reward, affection, gifts, generosity, flattery at irregular intervals. This randomness keeps the victim in a state of always wanting to please in the hopes of receiving the affection and validation they are so craving. This is how the victim becomes addicted to their abuser, who has now become their source of relief from the constant state of anxiety that they are kept in, albeit at the hands of that very same abuser. Basically, the narcissist will lash out at you in some way. It could be with rage and devaluation, or they might gaslight you and get you caught up in a confusing word salad, which will have you questioning your own reality. All right, let's skip down here to, let's see, signs you may be trauma bonded. Here are some common behaviors which people in narcissistically abusive relationships often display. Once you can be honest with yourself and acknowledge the painful truths which you're aware of deep down inside, then you get to take the first step toward freeing yourself from abuse. Trauma bond signs: making excuses for the abuser's behavior, lying and covering up the awful things the abuser has done, like those mandates. Justifying the abuse based on the abuser's childhood or traumatic past, feeling uncomfortable with the situation and may not even like the person anymore, but feel unable to leave. Feel like your life will be destroyed if you leave. Think that somehow the abuse is your own fault. Feel like that kind of relationship is all you deserve. Get overly excited about the smallest crumb of affection offered by the narc. Have friends or family who may have tried to alert you to some of the toxic behaviors they've seen. Downplay things that others notice about as abusive. Quickly forget that the abuse once things are good again. Feel like the abuser can be occasionally mean, cruel, and destructive, but choose to focus on their good points instead. Feel like the relationship is a roller coaster. Jeez. It is a roller coaster, isn't it? 1 minute things are nice and calm, next minute the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. We're always walking on eggshells. Make sure not to set the abuser off. Who's more susceptible to narcissist trauma bonding? Well, it's going to be people who, here we go, codependents and overgivers, children of narcissists, people who've grown up in and around abusive behavior, people with no support. So that right there is humongous. Always make sure that you have some sort of support. You can rely on yourself to be mentally strong, but if you're not surrounded by other people who are mentally strong, then these abusers can find the cracks and get in there. People with low self-esteem, people who weren't modeled unconditional love in healthy relationships. 7 stages of narcissist trauma bonding. Love bombing. Let's see here. Trust and dependency. I think this is the biggest one. We trust our doctor, we trust the media industrial complex, we trust the government, and they're not trustworthy. They never have been, they never will be. Criticism, you white supremacist, you bigot, you racist. Gaslighting, that's a big one. When things go wrong or you question the narcissist's words or actions, you'll be met with gaslighting. They will get you caught up in confusing conversations, which shift quickly and always seem to keep the narcissist free of accountability, while pinning everything back onto you, you white supremacist. They'll very cleverly convince you that your thoughts and feelings are wrong, and they'll twist your perception of reality to their own self-serving agenda. Now everything is always your fault. 5, resignation. By this point, you're exhausted. You try talking to the narcissist calmly and communicating clearly to solve the problems, but somehow you always end up confusing arguments. Oh my gosh, isn't that true? People that don't want to understand basic thinking, right? Have you ever run into that? Oh, I'm sure you never have, right? 6, loss of self. Unfortunately, you never do get back to that first amazing phase. Now, every time you stand up for yourself or fight back against the narcissist's despicable behavior, things just get worse. They project all of the things that they were doing onto you, then blame you for those very things. They'll gaslight you to rewrite your version of events and cause mass confusion. You've given up on attempting to regain those happy early days of the relationship. Now it's all about surviving each day and keeping the pace. Your confidence and self-esteem are shot. 7, addiction. By this point, you're living in a constant state of stress and anxiety. You never know when the narcissist is going to explode, cause an argument, or expect you to fix all their problems, and never-ending source of energy for them to feed from. You now only feel relief when things are going okay, or the narcissist randomly grants you a breadcrumb of validation. And the thing moved here. Just a moment. Both of which are in the narcissist's complete control. You become psychologically and chemically addicted to the highs and lows. The TV set. You are now completely dependent on the narcissist for relief and validation, much like a drug addict is reliant on their substance. This person is now your world and you cannot leave. How to break free from the trauma bonding. Let's see if we can find it. Acknowledgement. Okay, acknowledge the bond. Acknowledging the abuse is the first step toward breaking free from it. Low or no contact. Turn off the TV set. Cannot heal in the same space which you are being abused. Turn within. Let's see if there's a quote here. Have you been trapped in the 7 stages of a narcissistic trauma bond? I think we all have. How about that? Well, we're at the end of the article here. All right, white people. I hope that this has been helpful. I can link the. I will link this article in the comment section. And thank you so much for listening. I look forward to your thoughts below.